And welcome back, everyone. I always say "and welcome back" like I had a whole sentence I said to you before. But welcome back to
you should hear the things he says before I turn on his microphone.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
A lot of racism.
Man, it's brutal.
Bigotry through the window.
Yep.
Is it through the window? Through the roof. It's through one house part.
Out the window, through the roof, to the window, to the wall, till the sweat dripped down my ball.
Ball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean...
Yes.
Yeah, tough struggle there, did you? Anyway, yes, welcome back to Sure to Be Grand with myself, Daniel, and rudely saying the other person secondly, Owen. Say hello, Owen.
Hi.
Hi. And we're back to you again, and we're actually finally, after the little bit of a hurdle we had last week, going to review the Hobbit trilogy, the live-action Peter Jackson. I want to say Peter Jackson, kind. Because it is a Peter Jackson trilogy, but not wholly, I think. But before that, Owen, how are you?
I'm okay. I can't walk.
Oh,
yep.
Because of the ball situation.
Yeah, my balance is just all over the place. Yeah. No, I am experiencing. I guess this is what people experience when they do leg day in the gym.
Oh no!
I went paintballing like the day before yesterday. And listen, I thought, look, I was obviously misled. I thought we were playing war games, all right? I thought I was in a game of Call of Duty and I was running around the place and I was sliding in behind things and ducking for cover and fucking rolling around the place and army crawling and calling out things to people. Nah, nobody else was doing that.
They were literally just going, oh,
they were just going, hoop, hoop, hoop. And yeah, my legs are in bits after it. So that's cool.
It's mad. I don't know. I have a bigotry towards paintballing because I went to an airsoft society in college. So like airsoft is the right way, and airsoft is better because like the paintballs they don't go straight in the air because they're all bumpy, but airsoft pellets go straight. And I have this whole thing. For some reason, I give a shit. But yeah, no. Airsoft and paintball, they're good crack.
It was great crack. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And definitely, I remember doing the airsoft thing. Like what you were describing about the like jumping behind things, rolling things, pulling yourself through thistle and all that kind of stuff. That's all the shit I did. Like I'm a meek sort of person when it comes to physical stuff. Like I don't want to just jump onto the floor. I don't like that. Like people climb walls, I'd be like, all right, yeah, have fun there. That's my thing. But on the battlefield, like they had like ditches, and I was just like head first jumping into them with no worries.
You can't be a passenger in war, all right?
You can't. No.
You can't.
Do you remember? I remember when we went in transition year, and we went to paintballing.
Yeah, and they put us up against a stag party.
I don't remember that part, but
the other group that was playing paintball when we arrived to the place, which was I think in Cork somewhere, was a stag do, a bunch of fucking 30-year-old guys.
Yeah,
who I'm 90% sure were semi-drunk.
We won't mention names, but we had quite, I think, a teacher that people didn't want to get on the wrong side of, who was our transition year head, but I didn't realize he was taking part of the paintballing, and I was literally like shouting at people to get under cover, move forward fast. And I was like, I was just telling this one, just move forward, get out, go. And I remember like 2 weeks later, I said, yeah, no, he was just in class. Yeah, no, Daniel was shouting me a lot when we were on paintball. I was just like, oops. It worked though, yeah. I'm all for. I remember I was at the top of a hill for airsoft once, and there was a guy hiding behind this giant boulder, about the size of a house. This boulder, and he just kept on like dipping his head up, looking at us, and trying to shoot at us. And he was like a good 200 meters away, and he was almost getting us, but we couldn't get him because he had this big giant boulder. So we realized that the wind was in our favor, and we pointed slightly to the right of the boulder, and the BB bullets turned in the air in mid-flight, and he got hit. He went, hit, and then he looked up and went, what the fuck?
All right, Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, we
Mr.
Angelina
fucking
Jolie
curving
that.
bullets out here.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. Oh, it's
Okay.
good stuff. Yeah. But yes, okay, let's move on. We are finally going to review the Hobbit trilogy. Should we give some, like, this is our first Lord of the Rings thing we're doing for this stuff. And we should make a point that we love the Lord of the Rings. We love the book. We love the original Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy. You know, I enjoyed the Hobbit quite a lot as well. I'm not sure. Did you enjoy the Hobbit, the book?
The book?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It's a kid's book.
It's fine.
Yeah. It's an episodic sort of kids book. I actually am one of the few people who kind of prefer to the Lord of the Rings because it's episodic. It doesn't get bogged down talking about a field for like 2 chapters, which is nice.
Those are the best parts.
They're
the best
not.
parts. That
no, there was some king who had some battle here, and now everything is sad.
Prose of talking. It's just the best part of it.
Do you know? I've heard like not rumors. People said that anytime they went on a walk with Tolkien, he would just stop at every tree and plant and talk about it and what kind of plant it was and how it was growing and that kind of stuff. And when you read his book, you're like, yeah, I 100% believe that without a shadow of a doubt, you know? But yeah, no, like he does, like, obviously the man was in love with nature and that kind of stuff. So it makes complete sense that he just would stop at every single thing. Because I think it's fair to say, like, the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbits, to an extent, they're just excuses. The story is just an excuse for him to like write about plants and make his languages. Like, you know, they're great stories, but he didn't make them for the storytelling element. I think he's just like, I want to make some fantasy languages, and I want some like talk about plants and geography, and I want to draw maps. That's really what he did it for, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I go so far as to say that's the only reason he wrote The Lord of the Rings.
No, okay, but what I'd say is, like, if you look at
he did have things to say, like.
I know he did, but like, if you look at all the content, there's far more content put into world building that ever emerges in the story, and there's plenty in the story. Don't get me wrong, but you know, there's like, you know, for 1 part like lore in the books, it's 100 parts he has an extended media for it. Yeah.
It's just called being. It's just being a good author.
Yeah, I think he just got didn't want to write the story. Sometimes he went, "Oh fuck it, I'll just make up more stuff in the past." And then there's Treebeard and Mount Doom.
Mount Doom, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, let's get into The Hobbit, and we're going to talk it as one thing. I think this whole trilogy.
I shall be referring to it as the Hobbitses from here on out.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So, this was a trilogy. It was originally meant to be made by Del Toro. Then Peter Jackson came in and went. Del Toro wasn't like, I don't get to do what I want. The studio shit. You know, leave me alone. And Peter Jackson came in last minute sort of thing. Went, all right, I'll make another 3 movies. Let's go. That's basically the story. I mean, I know there was a whole lot of stuff going on behind the scenes about actors' unions and all that kind of stuff, but it seems like the studio was sticking its nose in, and Del Toro was like, "You're not letting me do my Hobbit."
Yeah, I mean, Peter Jackson wanted to make The Hobbit before he made The Lord of the Rings. Originally, in like the 90s, he wanted to do like. He actually wanted to make a trilogy, I think, and he wanted to start with The Hobbit and then have 2 more movies that would cover The Lord of the Rings, I think is how he wanted to do it. And Harvey Weinstein was involved, and it just didn't pan out, and they ended up being like, why didn't you just make The Lord of the Rings? And he was like, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, I guess I'll do that.
I suppose he maybe was looking at that time at animated movies and...
Yeah, and then, well, there was a rights issue as well. I think somebody else had the rights to The Hobbit. I don't think it was New Line Cinema who did the Lord of the Rings with.
Yeah.
I think somebody else had the rights, but then they expired in like 2010. And yeah, Del Toro was I don't know, there was a whole legal battle going on, and then Del Toro was going to make the movie, and then he was like, I don't know. It would have been awful anyway. Guillermo del Toro's The Hobbit would have been terrible.
Are you not a fan of this?
Not particularly. No.
Is it because he does spooky stuff?
I wouldn't.
It's because he does spooky stuff.
I wouldn't call what he does spooky. It's just weird.
Labyrinth is really fucking spooky.
Labyrinth's one of his good ones. I think Labyrinth is fine. Okay. I don't know. He's a nicer guy, and he's probably more talented, but he's akin to Tim Burton in my opinion.
Oh, okay. Like weird for the sake of weird.
For the sake of it, like he's just, and I get it. No, people like that shit. I'm not trying to shit on it. I get it. I've spoken enough about how I don't like Tim Burton here, and I don't have any dislike for Guillermo del Toro. He's just not my thing.
You actively dislike Tim Burton. But
I actively don't like Tim Burton, but I have no real feelings either way for Guillermo del Toro. Like I get that people like him, and that's fine. He has some good stuff. I've seen some of his movies are fine. Some of it's just way too weird for me.
It's all well made though. He does.
Yeah, no, he's not not talented. Like he's a very talented guy, and he like dabbles in everything, which I think is really cool. He moves through different mediums, and he's done all sorts of everything. Some of his animated stuff is cool. Everything. Yeah, pretty much. But I don't. I'm pretty happy he didn't make a Lord of the Rings movie, to be honest. Even if it was The Hobbit.
I mean, let's get into it and see, in retrospect, if we still feel the same way. But yeah, look. So 2 veterans of the Lord of the Rings movies return for this, I believe. A few actually, but 2 main ones that repeatedly come into these movies is Ian McKellen and Andy Serkis. Martin Freeman is appearing as Bilbo Baggins, and then there's Thorin and other dwarfs. Is that fair to say?
Can you name them, Dan?
There's Philly.
Without reading it off of IMDb.
There's Balin.
No, close that IMDb page and tell me their names again.
Bumber. So Killy is a dark-haired one of the Killy group. Philly is blonde. Killy is the guy that tried to get into elf pants. Killy.
Who?
Remember Killy.
Philly or Killy?
Killy. Okay. Killy tried to get into the pants. Right. And then there was Balin. Balin is,
my cousin Balin will give us a royal welcome.
Yeah.
That Balin.
Exactly. Yeah. But Balin is the other dwarf that basically narrates, hey, this is our story. This is what we're about. And Thorin's not that bad. While Thorin just goes, yeah, cunt.
Well, Thorin is that bad also.
Yeah.
By the way. Thorin, but he's at least you can remember his name.
Yeah, I mean, he was basically on he was Aragorn, right? For this movie. That's what
Thorin, that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah. He's not Aragorn in real life. Yeah. No. He's a grumpy dwarf who definitely should be like 100 years older. But let's not talk about that part. No, I'm not even saying that. It just doesn't make sense because all his like cousins, like Philly and Killy, like they've never been under the mountain and all this kind of stuff, and they're not that much younger than Thorin in this. At least they don't look it.
No, but no, none of them do really, do they?
No, they don't. Bomber is it Bomber? The big fella?
I don't know.
Bomber, yeah. Bomber is just the fat, let's laugh at the fat guy. Who's the guy who doesn't... There's Ori. There's Gloin. Gloin is
Gimli's dad.
Yeah. Gimli's son of Gloin, yeah. Yeah. Who is it? Is it Dory, the guy who has the weird fin hair? Like he has a weird sticky outy hair and side hair?
No fucking clue. But he looks the stupidest. That guy that you're describing. He looks terrible. He's the dumbest looking fucking thing ever. There's Biffer and Bomber. They go together, don't they?
They all go together.
Well, they're all just a fucking mess of lame nothing characters. But
Yeah.
Biffer and Bomber, I feel like, are supposed to be some like a Philly and Killy type situation.
Yeah. I think so.
You can tell we've watched all of these movies a couple of times, can't you? Like, it's pretty fucking.
But the fact that we actually can talk, like we can all we know what they look like now, but that's because I watched it like 3 times and last.
Like, no, here's the thing, right? I know what I can picture the hobbits, not the hobbits, the dwarves in my head.
Yeah.
I can recall names of the dwarves in my head. I have no idea which name goes with which person, with the exception of Thorin. And Balin, maybe
Balin,
he's the old
Balin.
guy that has white hair.
Yeah,
and he talks a lot. But
yeah, it's like Thorin, Balin, Philly Killy, and Philly Killy is a mix. Either way, that could go. And then is it Ori?
I genuinely have never heard the name Ori before.
Ori's the guy who just has a beard underneath his chin, and he has braids, and he just carries a book around, and he just smiles a lot. He's like the youngest of the group. We talked about this the other day.
No idea. Still have no idea. Still absolutely zero memory of this character.
Yeah, it's almost like having a cast of how many dwarves? 12? And Bilbo was like, there's 11 dwarves, and then there's Gandalf, and then the 13th member of the party is Bilbo.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's 11. Well, is Thorin the 12th dwarf?
Hold on.
There's 11 and then there's Thorin and Gandalf. No, wait, that wouldn't make sense. I don't fucking know.
Okay. 13. Okay, the 13. Thorin comes to
13 dwarves.
13 exiled dwarves under the leadership of Thorin, and the one. Okay, so yeah, no, I was right. Yeah, and Gandalf is like I don't know, middle management that shows up once in a while.
He does what Gandalf does.
Yeah.
Just kind of coaxes them into doing things, and then well, he's more active in this trilogy, I suppose. He does more things, even if they are stupid and don't make any sense. But we'll get into that. Who else is in the movie?
Ian Holm, rest his soul, returned as old Bilbo, and Elijah Wood shows up for a quick background situation. We have Elrond coming back. We have Galadriel coming back. We have poor Christopher Lee, which I just before I make this joke, I want to say I respect Christopher Lee immensely, and I think he's one of the finest actors to have hit cinema. But he was like a fucking marionette in this. Like, age definitely had caught up on him at this stage.
I mean, he was like 95 years old when he did this, wasn't he?
Yeah. And fair play to him, man. He probably was like was probably doing like a metal album on the side as well. Like, let's be fair.
Well, he was probably still being paid to kill people as well. I assume.
Yeah. It's long. Yeah, like that's the thing. He actually didn't die. He just went into hiding, and when the person relaxes, he's meant to, just come out and I know what it's meant to feel like to be stabbed in the back.
Yeah. And that person is Ian McKellen.
Yeah, he had a lot of chances.
Stealing the role of Gandalf.
poor Christopher Lee wanted to do Gandalf all his life, read the book every single year, and then it comes to him and went, I want to play Gandalf. No, you play the evil one.
No, you play the bad guy.
But yeah, Ian McKellen's in this as well. Here's the thing, right? They conveniently edit out the sound at the end of this trilogy when it's old Bilbo Baggins and Gandalf is at the door and says, "Oh no!" and he comes down and says, "You haven't aged a day." Now that's not in the Hobbit trilogy at the very end. Like, you hear some murmuring in the background as it pans onto the book, but. Okay, so one big thing about these movies, we're going to jump into story bits here and there, but I just kind of want to go overview as well. A big thing about this movie is that it's a lot more fantastical than the Lord of the Rings. Like, physics is definitely turned off a bit.
No, completely. It feels like this is especially evident in the first one, in An Unexpected Journey, which is technically a musical. Especially in the first one, they were definitely going for, like you said, The Hobbit's a kid's book, and it has this kind of whimsical sort of oddness to it, which is definitely probably a holdover as well, because a lot of the stuff in the first one came from Del Toro when he was working on it, and but then they also tried at the same time to do the Lord of the Rings how cool is this, like proper fantasy stuff.
Like
and
Radagast shows up and says, darkness is coming out the Mercury. Now let me go on my rabbits and my sled.
They can't, but these are whatever fucking rabbits that I have. I'm on mushrooms. It's but they try and do both at the same time, and neither of them work very well. It doesn't have the same weight and gravitas that the Lord of the Rings has, and the whimsy stuff just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
For me, especially anyway. I don't know. Some people might have thought the whole falling down a river in a barrel was hilarious, but.
It's always going to come back to the barrel thing, isn't it?
No, I actually think this all of the scenes in the Goblin King dungeon in the first one are worse than the barrel thing.
Yeah. Actually, I want to get to fan edits because that's the one that always gets taken out. But yeah, so like it's always been more fantastical, and a bit of real world stuff is when the Lord of the Rings came out, the Hobbit book had to be edited because in the original Hobbit book. Bilbo and Gollum do their riddles, but by the end of it, like Gollum's all like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Here, have my ring. You want the riddles? But then he wrote the Lord of the Rings. Went, no shit. There's the whole mix of whimsy as well. And Tolkien was like, you can't mix it really all that much. Yeah, no, Gollum was a prick. That's it. And Bilbo stole it. But so in that frame of mind. I like to imagine that the Martin Freeman Bilbo and him obviously looking way younger and all the whimsy on it, it has to just be Bilbo writing this book and just really making shit up on top of it, just to make it really over the top and insane.
You think Bilbo Baggins is an unreliable narrator?
Yes, 100%.
He's just talking shit for most of
it. And that's why Gandalf says, you haven't aged a day, my friend. It's like, yeah, because original old Bilbo looked like old Bilbo back then as well. He didn't look like Martin Freeman. I have a theory that I think Martin Freeman is like peak sexiness in considered, like the hobbits consider sexy.
Bilbo's sitting at home writing the book just going like, gods, I was strong then.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I looked like when I was younger. I was a babe. Oh man, was I a fucking looker.
And he doesn't have to worry because no one else in the Shire is reading books.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, except Frodo, who like also hasn't, like early on in the Lord of the Rings, they said, yeah, no, Bilbo eventually told me the true story because they kept asking him because it was clearly bullshit in the book.
Clearly he'd been smoking that pipe too much. Like.
Yeah. The halfling Swede. But yeah, okay. Well, we can start with good stuff for this trilogy.
Can we?
Let's not do this. Listen, I think Martin Freeman is a decent Bilbo Baggins.
I don't like Martin Freeman in pretty much anything.
Okay, this is going to be an interesting conversation.
I find him...
He's deadpan and...
I find him... He's like the human equivalent of a tweed jacket, and I don't like him. No, he's not. Him as a person, fine, whatever. I've nothing against the man.
You liked him putting his middle finger up in like cut scenes behind the...
Yeah, him as a guy, he seems okay when you look at behind the scenes footage and stuff. I like... Not Martin Freeman.
Every time you go onto him in the back scene, just like middle finger goes...
Yeah, that's fine. I like that, but just him, his performances and everything is just like, I just don't get it.
Oh yes, that famous performance of him where he's a fish underwater.
He's like a sim or something. He's just like bubbling and bibbling around the place, and I'm just like, no, man, will you just relax, please, for a moment?
The role that he was most known for before this was John Watson, and from Sherlock. And honestly, they're kind of the same character, really, at least performance-wise.
All of his characters are the same character.
Yeah,
all of them.
Yeah.
He's the same. Even that when he plays the fucking porn guy in Love Actually, same person. Whatever else he's in, he's the fucking special agent in the Marvel movies. In Black Panther, it's the same guy.
Why did they make him American in that?
I don't know, but in that one, he's just John Watson with an American accent for most of it. And it's just like, just find a different avenue. Just go somewhere else with it.
Hey,
no, look,
you know that GIF or video of those, what are those people who like pretend there's invisible walls? Mimes. And there's that mime that walks in on his mime girlfriend and she is like doing mime fellatio. Have you ever seen that video GIF?
No.
Okay. But Martin Freeman's one of them, and it's very much not Martin Freeman in performance.
You think Martin Freeman acts like he's a mime?
No. I'm saying is he was in a production where he was a mime who walked in on his mime girlfriend performing fellatio.
But I do also think that Martin Freeman acts like he's a mime is pretty accurate.
How?
He just has that energy, doesn't he? He's like he's a mime. It's like a vaudeville act half the time. Not that far. I wouldn't go that far. That's a bit much. Anyway, you like Martin Freeman.
I really enjoy his first scene with Gandalf.
You have a soft spot for bumbling Englishmen, though.
No, I have a soft spot for fast-speaking, clever Englishman. He is neither.
He's neither. He's not any of those things.
But yeah, no, I very much enjoyed the start of the scene, where we see him sit in front of the Bag's End with a pipe, and Gandalf comes up, and it's basically ripped straight from the book, and it's all like, "Good morning. Do you wish me a good morning, or do you say it's a good morning?" And Gandalf in his weird way, just like, "What are you trying to fucking say, man? Huh?" He's just like,
"Yeah,
I was just saying it was a no." I just like that interaction. It just
I will say like that opening scene of Bilbo is the best Bilbo gets in the trilogy. I think he starts off strong, and you're watching it going, "Oh, I can see it. Yeah, I can see this is I can see this being Bilbo. This is good." And I think then from there on out, it just kind of gets like, I don't think he's able for the rest of it.
I like him with Smaug or Smaug.
Well, which is it, Dan? Is it Smaug or Smaug?
I used to call him Smaug, but every person in existence apparently calls him Smaug. So this is one of the case of, as with my experience with most fantasy things, because I read them all, you have to make up your own pronunciations in your head for a lot of the words, because the words are made up. They don't have actual pronunciations until you get told what they're supposed to be by like the author or somebody in an audiobook, or it gets made into a movie. I would have read it as Smaug. Smaug. It would have just been Smaug in my head. I do think that now this is one thing that the Hobbitses have changed for me. I do now say Smaug without even thinking about it. It's erased Smaug. It's Smaug now to me, and I say that even just internally. His name it's Smaug. The only thing is I hate how it sounds in the mouth. It's like Smaug. Like you're trying to get around something wrong.
It does. It sounds a bit. It's a little bit better as a name for a dragon, as Smaug, I think.
Yeah.
Smaug.
Let's just have the next hour of it just saying Smaug.
Just us going Smaug.
Smaug. Okay, right. So Gandalf is basically like, I know this fucking hobbit. He'll do adventures. He's a fucking tuck, really. And he makes a mark on the Bag's End, and a bunch of dwarves come up. They all have amazing choreography when it comes to throwing plates towards each other.
I hate this.
Bending spoons and boil the cat. I don't know the tune really.
Yeah, I hated every second of the scenes with the dwarves in Bilbo's house.
Yeah,
I could not get it. I just couldn't wait for it to end.
Yeah,
I think I skipped a bit of it when they started singing the second song. I was like, nah, man, I'm just skipping on. I'm moving on. Let's just get going, because this is annoying the fuck out of me. They're so annoying.
Yeah,
every single thing that they do is annoying, and you're just, I'm just sitting there. It's not even that. It's not even that I'm just like, Jesus, this poor fucking Hobbit. Like, would you leave him alone? They're just they're like fucking cartoon characters in a fucking high fantasy world.
Yeah.
They're just fucking buzzing around the place, and I just hate them. I hate them so much. And it doesn't it gets better with some of them.
Don't you think it's funny when they fall in the door though at the end?
No, because it's like this is your introduction to the dwarves, right? Who at this point now it ends up being that they're all just a fucking mush of the one thing, and you can't tell them apart. But they're supposed to be at this point the big new characters that you're being introduced in this world, right? We've met Bilbo before, we've met Gandalf before, we've met the other characters who shouldn't really be in this trilogy but are in it. We've met them before, right? Yeah. We haven't met the dwarves before, with the exception of Gimli, right? He's the only dwarf that we meet. And this should be like, okay, let's see what dwarves are like. Let's see how they differ in personality, and that they're not all like Gimli and blah, 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 and they have their own culture and heritage and all this kind of stuff. And they fumble it immediately. They immediately are just like, haha, they're fucking annoying little idiots. Don't you love them? And I'm immediately, I go, no, I don't love them.
Like, one of the few things I did like is like, you know, when they do the headbutt thing. Like, that was one of the few things I like, okay, it's a little goofy, but that's a cultural thing. Oh, we're learning a bit about, you know.
That's Hercules and Pegasus from Disney's Hercules.
All right, I'm sure this happened once before in history, man. Okay.
Listen, I'm sorry. I'll try and do my best here, because you said you wanted to talk positives, and I'll struggle. I will try and find something. Just
to make it clear, like, I'm not a big fan of these movies. I didn't love them when they came out, and I continue to dislike them more and more with each movie. But I think it's worth seeing some of the work people have actually put into these movies and actually put the effort in, because, like we both know, like, movies have a whole mountains of levels of production involved, and a lot of the stuff it's bad, I think, to plaster it as completely awful as well. You know,
I think it's completely awful though.
Okay, all right, cool. The whole thing, everything apart.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
What about Gollum and Bilbo?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay, look, we'll get there in a second. All right. They have the whole dance. Thorin appears as the stranger, like Dark Stranger at the end of it.
He's a jackass.
My big thing is, so back in The Lord of the Rings, they did use some CGI, but for the most part, what they did for height difference was perspectives, and having different actors with different heights dressed up and to show differences. But in this, there's already, like, when Gandalf walking around the house and sitting down, there's a lot of weird shadows that have been edited afterwards, and him being obviously.
I was thinking this whilst rewatching them last week or whenever it was. The CG hasn't even aged very well already.
No, it hasn't.
Like, even the big stuff for Smaug.
And it's not even the CG. A lot of the composition is bad.
Yeah, it's just. But even the big fucking big whammy of the CG of Smaug hasn't really. Like, the Balrog, I think, has aged better than Smaug.
And they did it well because you saw so little of the Balrog, really.
Yeah, it's a weird choice, and I'll always go against it because they made Ian McKellen cry.
Yeah. So if people don't know the story, is that. So first of all, they couldn't do the perspective thing because this was a 3D movie, and it was recorded as 3D, which means there's two cameras on set.
Oh my god, I forgot that.
Yes, which is
I
why
totally forgot.
Yeah, which is why they had to. They couldn't do the perspective trick. It's not possible that way. So what they had to do for a lot of it was have two sets. One set which would be like the back end set, and which had all the dwarf-sized actors acting there, and then they'd have Ian McKellen on another set which was mostly green with sticks with balloons on top of it with faces, and he had to act against that, and he just kind of breaks down at a certain stage, saying like, "This is not why he became an actor.
This is not acting. This is not why I do this," kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's very sad. It is. It's hard to look at, honestly, and It's one of those things that like I already didn't like these things, and then they released because they tried to do because the Lord of the Rings did it, and it was a massive thing. Like all like the
special features and all that. Yeah.
The Fellowship of the Cast, whatever that's what they call the special features, wasn't it? All that stuff is incredible. Yeah. So they tried to do the same thing for The Hobbit, and this is one of them. They showed Ian McKellen having a emotionally distressed breakdown on set. And I was just like,
and Martin Freeman just like middle fingering things. Like,
why would you put that in special features? That's awful.
Do you know what's like a thing that annoys me? It really does annoy me. It's such a small thing. It's a disjointed thing. It's some of the behind the scene Hobbit stuff. And in the original special features for the Lord of the Rings, they made a point that Peter Jackson was basically a Hobbit and how he behaved, how he acted, who he was. And, fair enough. They know him more, and maybe there's some truth in it. He enjoys that kind of lifestyle. And then when the Hobbit trilogy came out, they made the same statement, but saying that, he's always been like a dwarf at heart. And like, it's such a small thing, but it just reeks of, hey, we're just like the old movies, and we're just as into this. And I was just like, okay, I don't like that.
Yeah, and I don't think any of them were as into it. No, I get what you're saying. I agree with you. I don't think any of them were as into this as they were into the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, a lot of the actors who played the dwarves were also treated pretty shite by production. They weren't getting as much screen time as they were promised. They weren't being invited over for live events.
Just actors playing a dwarf in Lord of the Rings productions just seem to have a hard time, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Poor Gimli. Face prosthetics. Oh. Anyone who doesn't know the story, what's his name?
I will try. I want to try and not talk about the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I can, because we're going to do those in a whole other episode.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
A lot of stuff.
But yeah, basically, the actor who played Gimli was allergic to the prosthetics that were put on his face, and his eyes would just bloody swell up, and he'd be fucked. And a lot of the things you see of Gimli that are not on his face is the stunt doubles doing the work. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a gorgeous scene of Thorin and the dwarfs singing about their home. I think, regardless of the movie, it's well done music. The scene is framed quite nice and warm. I think we were all singing that song for a while to ourselves.
Is this the one they sing in Bilbo's house, or the one they sing on the cliff?
The one in Bilbo's house around the fire. The heart.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh no! Don't you tell me you don't like it. Because I remember you had soundtracks and you listened to it constantly.
Doesn't do it for me.
It did do it for you. Don't you try to erase the past.
I remember I actually got a memory on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, maybe, and it was I shared. It was when the trailer for the Battle of Five Armies came out. Yeah, and the trailer, the soundtrack for the trailer was Pippin's walking song, like Pippin singing in the halls of Gondor from The Return of the King, which is an incredible scene. And I remember I shared it, and I was like,
not like Cherry Tomatoes, though.
Oh man, yeah, that's the most distressful scene.
Honestly, it's the worst gore in the entire trilogy.
But they used that song in the trailer for the Battle of Five Armies, and I was just I remember sharing it and going like, how dare they? How dare they do that?
Yeah, but the things I would say, I like the music in this. It was, I feel like there's only like one song with different tempos, but it was good.
Oh, well, we had Ed Sheeran in the second one.
Oh, God, I forgot that. Yeah.
Which is, in and of itself, is a really good song, but it doesn't work with the movie, in my opinion.
At least it didn't say, I'm in love with your body.
I'm in love with your hobby. Does that work?
No.
No? I'll get back. Really. I'll keep working on it. I'll get back to you on it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. But yeah, they have the music scene. Bilbo was all like, "Fuck no, I'm not going to go help you steal from a dragon or something." Like, what's that plan? Are they trying to like spook the dragon out, or is it just to get the Arkansas and say, "Hey, we're back, not under the mountain, but we're back"?
So, like, their initial plan, because Bilbo is hired as the burglar, right?
Yeah.
So I guess their initial plan is to sneak in, and Bilbo is supposed to steal the Arkenstone and bring it back and give it to Thorin. And the Arkenstone is it's just a rock,
The King's Stone.
but it's like symbolic of
Yeah.
being the king under the mountain or whatever.
Yeah. In the books, it was basically said that it's worth so much that it can, people greed for it. They want it. Whereas in these movies, it was treated as, hey, this is the ring, but it's a rock. All right.
It's like whosoever shall hold the Arkenstone shall bear the powers of the dwarf king under the mountain.
Yeah.
But it's I think that's their initial plan, is just to go there, and they have like they find out afterwards they have a time limit to get there, because there's a secret entrance into
it has to be the last light of summer or something.
That'll reveal the secret entrance, and Thorin has the key or whatever. But it's kind of like halfway when they get to Lake Town. I think it changes a bit, and they're kind of like, Thorin is like
2 days left.
If I get into the mountain, there's enough gold in there that we'll all live like pigs, and blah 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 or whatever. And
Stephen Fry's
Stephen
character.
Fry those two are the worst thing.
Oh, here's by the way, I love Stephen Fry, very precious man, but what the no.
Yeah, just no to the whole
like
him.
He's a greedy man, but like
no. The master is awful, and his little fucking lackey, who's like a Grima Wormtongue knockoff at the start of it, is just shocking. And then he like puts on drag in the third one, and it's just why. Just why to the whole thing. Did you spot
Stephen Colbert?
I was just about to actually say it. The Stephen Colbert has a
all these things take me out. I think it's even a problem. Like, I'm not saying that the original actors for the Lord of the Rings were not famous, but they weren't famous as they are now, and the cameos they had of people coming in.
They weren't really, is the thing. Like they're massive names now because of the Lord of the Rings.
But
they were,
Elijah Wood
was known because he was a child actor and stuff, and even I can't think of his name. The actor who plays Sam.
Because he was in
Goonies and stuff like that, so he was kind of known. And it's not like they were completely unknowns. But they weren't like massive. And then this has a bunch of like random.
Stephen Colbert and Stephen Fry, and like I mean, fair enough. Maybe Stephen Fry is not known in America as much as he is over here, but like he's still fairly well known.
I think he would be. He's pretty famous guy,
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the Stephen Colbert thing wasn't a big thing really either. That was just like a little because Stephen Colbert is a massive fan.
Yeah.
So they were just like, come along, you want to go? And I think they gave him a prop and stuff, and
an eye patch and all this kind of stuff.
I feel like they gave him one of the props for Sting or something. I think he has, or something along those lines. But
all these movies are origin of Sting, in a way.
The origin of Sting and Glamdring is Gandalf's sword.
Because I always think hammer in my head for some reason. Glamdring,
Glamdring is Gandalf's sword. Yeah, he gets that in this one. They just find it in a random cave.
Well, you find it because the trolls found it.
Yeah, but it's just a random cave that they stumble along, and they're like, oh hey, there's some fucking ancient elven weapons in here. Like, what?
One thing they say is that the trolls don't come this far from the mountains, or this far west of the mountains, right? It says they must have a cave nearby. And I'm just like, okay, if they have a cave nearby, fair enough. But how did they get to the cave in the first place then? If they don't come west this far, like, it's just a chain of caves that they go
and
to.
Also, aren't caves found in mountainous regions?
Yes.
Have they really left? They haven't really come that far south. They're still just chilling in a cave and cooking random things in a pot. And speaking, they have
Of course.
having conversations and turning to stone when the sunlight hits them.
Yeah. No, that was part of the books, to be fair.
It was, yeah, but it's like we've seen we've seen cave trolls.
Yeah.
In the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now,
the implication is because as Sauron regains power, he calls like orcs and trolls back to him, and they lose some of their mental abilities because his will is over them.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say that the first time we meet a cave troll is in the Fellowship when it attacks them in Balin's tomb in Moria.
Yeah.
We don't really have any way of we can't really say that troll can't talk.
He might be very talkative.
There's no way to know that he can't speak and read.
He could be a big Oscar Wilde fan. Who knows?
We don't know. He's in the he's in the throes of battle, so he's just screaming and hitting things. But
anyway, I was telling Father that come out here, we need you. I'll be back right now, chaps. Okay.
Yeah, we don't know that he's not an erudite scholar. Like, there's no way that we can't say that.
It's fair point. I also know we do see some mountain trolls in this as well, but it seems like the bigger they are, the more stupid they become as well. So that could be a thing. Maybe size-wise.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we see one in the Battle of Lake Town as well. That doesn't. Yeah. Again, we don't know that he can't talk.
Yeah.
Knowing that he can't. Like, he doesn't say anything in the scene that he's in, but it's not to say he can't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're not depicted as being super intelligent in this either, but like
no, they're not. But they can, they can speak and they speak English. Like they can converse with people.
Can we have recipes?
So can we while we're on the subject of the enemies or whatever, can we just to speak about the villains?
Which ones?
Let's just run the gamut, right? So you have the first movie. So in An Unexpected Journey, took me a minute to remember
the white orc.
It's the pale orc.
Pale orc. Yeah.
Who has a name that I can't remember right now.
You know what's amazing? I've watched a few edits of this trilogy, like fan edits, like the Tolkien cut and all that kind of stuff. You really can just cut out about every single scene of his, except a little mention at the beginning, a little mention during the battle, and then the fight with Thorin, and it feels perfectly fine not to have him show up.
The pale orc?
Otherwise, yeah. You can cut out most of the scenes. It's perfectly all right.
It's like there's a big thing in the first one that like him and Thorin have this like unfinished business, and it's like this backstory that
his grandfather got killed by him.
Yeah, and Thorin like defeated Thorin in battle, or Thorin claims that he defeated him and that the Pale Orc is dead, and he's not actually dead.
And that's why Thorin got the name Oakenshield as well.
Yeah, because he used a plank of wood to defend himself, and he cut off.
Why is he not called Plank?
Yeah, he's Thorin Plankenshield, and he cut off Azog. That's his name. He cut off Azog's arm, and now Azog has a fucking blade instead of an arm, and
pure this whole CGI orc as well.
He looks bad. He doesn't looks
really bad. He looks like a weird shark, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's not good. And do you know what? He's played by Manu Bennett, who he was Deathstroke in Arrow on the CW. Yeah. He's in a bunch of things. He was in the Shannara Chronicles as well, and
he's quite good.
He's a fairly known actor, but that's who.
Yeah.
He voiced Azog anyway. I don't know if he did the CG or the motion capture.
There was a live action costume for Azog at one stage. There was makeup done and everything, and then they went, "Nah, we'll do CG."
Yeah, and they did it for, but they did it for all of the orcs.
Yeah,
like all the orcs are CG.
Well,
it's like
not all orcs. Some of the orcs are legit makeup.
Some of them in some of the close-up shots, but any of the like group shots of orcs running around are clearly CG elements added to the scene, and it looks a bit.
I think the only time we really got that in the original trilogy was like in big massive battles. Then there was some CGI involved, but that was mixed with also some real life stuff. But that was understandable, you know, when you have 5,000 fucking orcs running down, you're not going to get every single person in.
But yeah, so Azog is the. Like, he's set up as the bad guy in the first one. and he kind of then you have the Goblin King, who's just a weird
He
thing at the end
kind
of
of
it.
represents Thorin's whole
He's
want for revenge,
and
and
he's
people have done us bad, you know.
he's the embodiment of Thorin's failures. I think
Yeah.
and Thorin hates him, and he hates Thorin, and they have this whole thing going
Yeah.
on. And he's just like Azog is like gets a whiff of the dwarves, and he's determined to kill them, and he blah 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 whatever. Then you have Azog's son, Bolg.
Oh yeah,
That's his
weird
son,
fish-eyed
apparently,
guy.
right? That's
Alright.
I think that's supposed to be his son.
Which again raises questions on how do they have children?
We don't know. But when Bolg first turns up, it's when the dwarves and all of them are sleeping in your man, the fucking bear guy, his cabin. And Azog is like, we wait till morning and then we'll blah, blah, whatever.
By the way, I only realized was in sex therapy. He was the boyfriend of the Ma.
Sex therapy?
Or was it sex education?
Oh, he's the Swedish guy?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
He is, yeah.
Okay.
I saw it and instantly went, wait! Because I've been watching sex education purely because of it's a great TV program, nothing to do with one of the main actors in it being in Doctor Who soon. But yeah, no, I was just like, hey, there you go. And he acts exactly the same way, except he's a bear this time.
I didn't cop that at all. But but Bolg first turns up there, which is kind of like towards the end of the first movie. And he runs in and he's like, he basically orders Azog. He's like, the whoever, the master has called everybody to Dol Guldur. And Azog is like, there's a moment where he's like, I'm going to disobey this order. I have to kill these hobbits, right? And I thought in that scene, Bolg was like at least Azog's equal. Like he was like another orc captain that like it wasn't like they were a separate thing. And then Azog goes back and the shadow of the necromancer, blah, blah, whatever, is like, you will lead my armies. Blah, blah, blah. And then Bolg is just a guy.
Sauron, such a performance.
Yeah, but it's so he's the villain in he's the villain in all of them, really. He's like
he kind of takes a break in the middle of the movie.
And then in the second one, obviously you have Smaug, played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Sherlock.
But a lot of people loved his performance. I wasn't particularly gone on it this time round. It was a bit...
I don't know. It's a big fucking dragon. I don't really fucking care about performance.
No, I'm not talking about everyone, because I remember the time when this came out, and this was part of the behind the scenes thing as well. There was like clips of Benedict Cumberbatch with the fucking motion capture things on his head and like slithering around like a dragon, and it was like, he's such a fantastic actor. Look at him go. He's incredible. And like, that's whatever. Like,
also, it's not really motion cap either. They're just using as references just so that people know.
Yeah. But like, the voice that he chose for Smaug, I'm not 100% on it.
I think it's because Sherlock was such a big show at the time. I really couldn't disconnect their voices. Like it just felt like Sherlock was now a dragon, you know.
Yeah, so Smaug
as we know, he's also a great man for different accents.
Oh yeah, his American one in particular is fantastic, isn't it? But he does. So Smaug is the big bad thing in the second one, which is aptly,
he's also in the third one.
No, aptly titled "The Desolation of Smaug," and then they fuck it up completely by going,
because the desolation doesn't happen.
Hey, do you know what? We're just going to cut the end off this second one and make it the start of the third one for no reason whatsoever.
Especially because there was no desolation of Smaug in the second one. There was no desolation.
No, there was not. There was. It was the presentation of Smaug, if anything. And then the third one is like, actually. The third one is like, Smaug is dead. No, he's dead. Oh, well. We could have just done that in the last movie.
Let's talk about second Aragorn, though.
The Archer?
Yeah, the Archer. He's definitely second Aragorn, right?
I can't think of his name. The Archer. That's
oh, God.
Not to be confused with Legolas, the Archer.
Let's see. Hold on. Let's not be
Smaug.
Keep talking there and I'll find it.
So Smaug is the villain, and then in the third one you have the 5 armies, which are still unclear to me. I'm still not 100%. I don't think the movie was ever 100% nailed on as to what the 5 armies were. Like, there's the dwarf army, that shows up with CGI Billy Connolly riding a warthog. There's the elves with fucking pansexual Lee Pace leading the line.
His name was Bard.
Oh, the Bard. Yeah, he was terrible. And then there's so that's 3. Then there's the orc army that tunnels in with giant worms that are never seen again. And then there's another orc army, which I think is maybe they were like, that's the 5th one, but it's not really, because it's the same army as the other orc army, which only leaves 4. But then are the dwarves in the mountain the 5th army? But really they're with the other dwarves.
So hold on. It's the original group in the mountains, which are dwarves. Then there are the elves. Then there are the river folk. There's some Rivertown folk in that army.
There's the dwarves, the elves, the men, and the orcs, right? That's 4 groups, right? So what they're either saying that the orcs are two separate armies, right? There's the Azog guys, and then there's Bulgs guys with the worms. They're saying that's 2, but it's not, because they're the same army.
Okay.
Then they're saying that the dwarves have 2 armies, because there's Billy Connolly's dwarves from the Iron Hills, or there's Thorin's, but he's not an army. It's just 13 guys in a hill. So they're together. It's like, is Legolas his own army?
Okay.
Is that what they're saying?
So from the books, the 5 armies.
Is it the Eagles? Are the Eagles the 5th army when they show
goblins?
Goblins.
With orcs.
Right. Okay. Right.
Elves. Men.
Yep. Right.
Dwarves.
Right.
Are you ready for this? Wolves.
Wolves.
I forgot that about the books. Yeah.
The wolves are okay, but they're not in the movie. So are the Eagles the 5th army in the movie? Because they show up at the end and they drop a bear onto things.
I have the film saga wiki open. Okay, so they are the dwarves of Erebor, the elves of Mirkwood, the men of Dale,
right?
Versus the 2 armies of Dol Guldur and Gundabad.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. The movie, they're attempting to count the orcs as 2 armies.
Yeah,
because they came from different sides of the battlefield, but they're the same army. They're both under Azog's command. Yeah. Right? And then the Eagles turn up and drop a fucking giant bear on people's heads. Also, saying the dwarves of Erebor as an army is not a thing. The dwarves of Erebor are 12 fucking guys. They're just Thorin and the gang sitting in the corner. There's the dwarves of the Iron Hills with Billy Connolly. They turn up. They're a different thing.
Oh God!
There's either less than 5 or way more than 5 armies. All right, that's all I'm trying to fucking say here.
Okay. All right. Okay, you're right. Let's talk about some nice cool.
Anyway,
things.
the villain of the 5th one is Lee Pace.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I forgot about Thandruil. Thandruil is kind of a villain.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay.
He's the villain in the 5th, in the 3rd movie.
Yeah.
Just because he's a piece of shit.
Who has fought dragons? I think the implication was, because like he has like magic makeup on, and he talks to Thorin very close up, and he says, "I have fought dragons in the West," and then like his cheek skin falls off, and there's like all like teeth and gnarly bits, and then he just like brings it back. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was odd, wasn't it?
Yeah. They didn't really. I think that's how his wife died as well. I think by dragon.
A dragon killed Legolas's mother?
I don't know. Legolas is in this.
Legolas is in this. All right. Is this where we talk about all the random shit that he added to pad out the runtime of 3 movies?
Yeah. You know, I don't think there's any. Look, okay, going to mention a few things first before we slander this movie completely. Right, I love the spiders in the forest. I thought it was like the most like child Hobbit book storytelling. I loved like Bilbo being invisible around the elves and like trying to sort stuff. I really enjoyed Bilbo and Gollum. The riddles between them. I thought Gollum was as good as ever. I felt Thorin hugging Bilbo at the end of the first movie, and I've never been so wrong. bit early in their like friendship story. It could have probably didn't have to be there. Like, I think they could have just been a redemption at the very end when Thorin is dying. Says, "I'm sorry, Master Baggins. You were sound," or whatever. I'm a writer.
You're all right, Bilbo. You know.
Okay, yeah, I can't think of. There's loads of little scenes I liked. I loved Galadriel and Gandalf clearly banging.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
man.
I liked Gandalf talking about why Bilbo gives him hope. I like those lines, and there's a few lines and quotes in this movie which are really nice, but I think for the most part, it felt like I was watching a collection of paintings. The CGI and the visual effects was so. Also, it's like really weird Gaussian blur and everything. Really,
and they did this. It's the color palette for me. It's like they wanted this to look like a daydream scene or something. Like everything has this weird fucking like odd light coming off of it, and it just looks strange. It's like they were like, no, we need to.
It's like you took your glasses off and you look at everything.
Yeah, but it's honestly, it's like you're on fucking MDMA or something, looking at things half the time. It's all these weird fucking weird colors, and it's very strange looking. And it's
Hobbit reads,
Yeah,
Again,
that's how it looks in Bilbo's memories because he was fucking high all the time.
Look, this is just like Frodo's like 13 years old, and Bilbo's like, "Let me tell you about that time." And he said, "Bilbo, please just." "Well, okay, I'll fucking write a book then." Fucking sexy, the sexiest fucking Hobbit ever.
Yeah, pretty much. I was fucking sexy, and I fucking killed a lot of people, and I did a lot of drugs, and I met God. It was fucking. Oh, it was deadly, man. You should have been. You think you can top this, Frodo?
Yeah, Frodo. Who was your friend? Legolas? Yeah, I met him.
Yeah, I met him. Did I not tell you that before? Did I not tell you when we were hanging out in Rivendell? I never was like, oh, I know him.
You never mentioned it in Rivendell.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that.
Look, just Bilbo and Legolas standing next to each other, not even looking at each other, and Frodo's saying, "Can't believe old friends like that, never talking to each other." Legolas like, "Sorry, what?
Huh? Ooh, who's your dwarf friend? Gimli? Oh, I knew his dad.
Yeah.
Very good friend of mine. Very good friend of mine. Yeah, loved him.
I'm not saying like elves have like long memory or necessarily, but like, do you think Gimli and Legolas didn't start off as best of friends in Lord of the Rings at first?
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, Legolas does actually become quite friendly with him quite soon. But do you think just the first time, like, yeah, I saw you when you were a kid, fucking goblin creature.
Yeah, Jesus, you were ugly as a baby, Gimli. Jesus, man.
Also, the thing is, he's meant to be like 90. I think
your old fella couldn't even fight a spider, man.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. So that's
some of the emotional beats I quite like when Bilbo leaves the dwarves, and he gets stopped by Balin, and he says goodbye to everyone. And I know you're not a big fan of Martin Freeman. I genuinely thought some of the sadder moments he did well. He acted well. I like when Bilbo says like, I'd like nothing more than being at home in my comfortable chair in my nice warm Howard hole, and that's where I belong. But that's why I stayed, because you don't have that. And if I can that's a nice moment, and it actually gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. So there are moments in these movies that I do enjoy, but let's go on to why I don't.
Yeah. So it's fairly well known that a lot of the things in these movies do not happen in the book The Hobbit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things and elements and stories and characters who have nothing to do with The Hobbit, and for some reason whether it was the studio or Peter Jackson or somebody somewhere went, we need something. There needs to be a direct thing referencing the Lord of the Rings here. It needs to happen constantly. Yeah. It wasn't enough that the two main characters are in the Lord of the Rings anyway. Like Bilbo and Gandalf are in the Lord of the Rings. There's your direct fucking entry point. Like, you don't need it.
Just make a quick clear point, or that the last movie contains 14 pages of the original book.
Yeah, but that's the amount of shit that they fucking padded onto things. And like, I suppose like the biggest one is Legolas. Like, I don't know at what point they just were like, what if Legolas is just in this? What if he's just a character now? What if Legolas is just wandering around the place doing things, and he just has his own little plot going on, and he's in love with this elf?
I've watched the Tolkien edit where it gets rid of Legolas for the most part. Movie works. Like, he's 100% not needed.
It would work. Most of this would, like, The Hobbit in and of itself, just as The Hobbit works. It's The Hobbit. Yeah. Of course it works. Yeah. It's an immensely popular, successful book.
Yeah.
Clearly it works.
I'm saying even the movie, even if those plot points aren't even interwoven into the main plot. They are tacked on.
They're just happening to extend the runtime, basically. Just like here.
I don't mind movies adding things and changing things. I think that's perfectly fine, as long as it's part of the story they're telling. It's interwoven in its narrative, but it's not.
No, they were 100% added to give, and the prime examples are there's two specific moments that are the worst shit ever, and they're clearly just there to make audiences go, look, I get it. And the first one is when Gloin shows Legolas a picture of Gimli as a baby.
Yeah.
It's dumb. It's so dumb. It's incredibly. It's so stupid, and there is absolutely no motivation for it other than to get everybody in the cinema at the time who was watching it to go, that's Gimli. That's Gimli. He's talking about Gimli. I like the Lord of the Rings. He's talking about Gimli. And then the second one is right at the end of the Battle of the Five Armies, after Killy/Philly or whatever, whichever one of them dies, and the female elf Tauriel.
That basically encapsulates her in these movies. Because I love like Taria Evangeline Lilly, who went into these movies saying like, I'd love to be a part of this. Please, whatever you do, don't make me a romantic part of it. Then, of course we won't. We're going to make you twice that.
We're going to make you all romance. That's all you are. But so Philly/Killy, one of them is dead, and she's sad, and blah, blah, blah. She fucks off. And Thranduil comes up to Legolas and says Legolas is pissed with him, basically, and he's like, I'm leaving forever. And
it was real.
Thranduil is like, where will you go? And Legolas says, I don't know. And Thranduil looks at Legolas and says, you should travel north. There is a young ranger there that you should meet. He may not be it now, but I believe he can become a great man. And Legolas
think in later books he's going to be quite big.
Legolas looks his dad dead in the eyes and goes, what's his name? And your man goes, his father was a great man. They call him Strider. You're just like, what? You're telling me Legolas like just wandered around the Northland wilds with Aragorn for a while? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So now basically what you've covered so far in these movies, what you've established for us, is that almost the entire fellowship knew each other. before the fellowship
Legolas just kept his mouth shut.
Legolas knew Gimli by proxy. He at the very least he knew his dad.
Doesn't have that many scenes and he doesn't talk that much in the real one because he doesn't have to say hello to everyone. He's just like,
he's already met them. Yeah, he knows everybody already. He's just like, they just cut out that scene where Legolas rocks in. He's like, hey, it's the guys. Hey, I know you. Hey, Gimli, man, I knew your dad. And Gimli's like, fuck you. And he's like, whoa, okay, somebody's in a bad mood. Hey, Strider, Aragorn, man, remember me?
But I got over my hate towards dwarves, and I think you'll do the same.
Fucking, it was like, hey, fucking Aragorn, son of Arathorn, Mr. Strider. Remember me? It's your best buddy. We hung out. Remember? My dad sent me on a quest to meet you because you're going to be a great man. And fucking, you're like, what? Hey, Boromir. Hey, what's up, dude? Fucking. Boromir, what's going on? Elrond met a necromancer there. Do you remember that? And he was saying that the armies of Sauron were coming back, and he was going to alert you guys. Remember that?
Also, just a quick check there. He was 10 years old, Strider.
Yep. That's what I mean. It doesn't make any sense. Hey, Frodo, what's your last name? Baggins. I knew a Baggins. Oh, yeah, the owl fella in the room over there, Bilbo. Yeah, great friend of mine. He knew Gimli's dad as well. Like, it's so fucking stupid.
Do you want to hear the worst part about the Aragorn thing, though? And I think you remember this. Viggo Mortensen, who is a wonderful man that we dearly appreciate, who plays Aragorn, has said that he was asked to return as Aragorn for these movies. Now, we know, here's the thing. Before people, Aragorn can live a bit older. I think he's 88 by the time of the Lord of the Rings, roughly, or something like that.
Yeah, he's roughly that. Yeah, that's one of the.
He's Dúnedain, and he can live 3 times the age of men and choose when he dies. That's their whole gimmick. Because I think it's because they're partially elf or something like that. And,
he has the blood of Númenor in him or something along those lines.
Yeah, but the Númenóreans were like half elves. I think that's something like that. Because he's like Elrond's nephew.
Númenor was founded by elves.
Yeah.
In the Second Age, and lasted for 3,000 years before the fucking angels sunk it into the sea.
Yeah, because Sauron was like, hey, you should invade. No, Melkor, also Sauron. One of them.
Melkor
went, hey, you should invade the Valar. And like, oh, but the Valar are strong. Yeah, dude, man, it's cool. I'm Valar too.
The Valar sunk the whole fucking island into the sea. You're like, nah, man.
And they turned the flat world of the Middle Earth into a sphere. And that's that's the reason why the elves still see the world as flat, whereas mortal men see it as round. And it's why only elves can go to the Undying Lands, because they sail straight in a line. So it's like a floating city.
And where'd they go then? The Valar. They went to space, Dan.
Oh, no, the Valar are still there.
No, the king, a couple of them after the light of the fucking 2 trees was snuffed out, and that was the only light in the middle. So back then there was no sun, there was no moon, and there was no stars. All the light came from the 2 trees, and then they died, and Melkor murdered them. Well, he convinced some other guy to murder them, and the Silmarils went missing, blah, blah, blah. A couple of the Valar went off to space to build the sun, essentially, is what they were doing.
Yeah. But I think that they've returned then as well.
Yeah. Well, they still have to come back, because Melkor is going to escape someday, and they have to fight him for one final time.
And also, like Gandalf, being a Maiar, was told by one of the Valar that, hey, head over to Middle Earth there and do shit. But don't do too much shit.
No, he was specifically told, you just hang around and keep an eye on things. You're just there to make sure they get to the point where Melkor escapes. All right, you're not. Don't help them too much.
Kill some people. You kill some orcs, okay? Just some.
Unclear. Sometimes you can.
Yeah. No generals except that one king. You get to kill one goblin king in the mountain. You can slice his belly open.
If you come across a Balrog, you can fight that.
But then you'll have to take a break.
If you meet a guy who calling himself the Necromancer, who's actually Sauron, you can maybe fight him a little bit.
But you're not allowed to remember that. Okay,
you can't remember that, and when the actual Sauron is knocking about, you're not allowed to fight him. All right.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna let Galadriel do that.
Yeah, Galadriel can do that. Yeah, she's 10,000 years old.
I'm just saying, Galadriel to Mount Doom. Because she fucking did a job pretty well. Like, remember, she's the one who fucking goes to
she
Sauron,
banished the Necromancer,
and she goes to her whole, I will be a queen!
There it is. I found it. There's a thing I like about these movies. Cate Blanchett is still brilliant.
Yes, she is. She's, honestly, is she an elf?
I think she is an elf. I'll be quite honest
But
with
she
you.
has
She's an elf.
not aged.
She's incredible. I love her
Yeah,
as Galadriel.
yeah.
Oh, she's stunning.
Oh,
I'm
but what do
so
you think
attracted
about
to her.
that? What do you think about that? All those weird fucking camera angles they had of when like Elrond and Galadriel and Saruman came to save Gandalf, and they all had they had like fucking kung fu action like scene
Yeah.
like camera angles coming in, just like I think we may be of service.
Yeah, they landed in like the Avengers or something in the
Yeah,
middle of. They
yeah.
were doing hero poses and like,
Oh,
the council is here. And you're like, what? I expected one of them to drop a one-liner at some point. Just
yeah.
fucking Elrond is just like, the council is now in session, and just slash the necromancer or something like it. It's like, what?
Elrond was interesting in this because Elrond we know from the Lord of the Rings is quite like refined and sits back, but this is like even though in his lifespan not much has like it's not a lot of years changed between Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. He's quite sporty, isn't he? He's like wearing proper
Yeah,
trousers.
he's quite
He's
chipper.
horse riding.
And he also
He's also an elf because he
seems-
does not age. He fucking does not age.
No. But yeah, Hugo Weaving. No, he doesn't age.
Oh,
But there's he's a lot more like I want to be we need to do something about this kind of thing. Like he's very like he's the one who says we need to go and warn the armies of Gondor to keep an eye on Osgiliath because the army clearly Sauron is fucking stirring like he's something's going on over there in Mordor. And then Saruman is like, no, Sauron can never come back without the ring. Shut up, basically. You're like,
yeah,
okay. And Elrond listens to him. But he's much more like, it's whatever happened. The light of the elves very clearly dimmed considerably in the 60 years or so from between the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings.
Or maybe it's just like he knew like Sauron was coming back, which is not great. You know, he just didn't expect Sauron to ever come back. And it's just like now they knew Sauron was coming back. Like, oh shit, oh no, this is bad. Why didn't I kill that god in the volcano? Why didn't I just push him in?
Why didn't I just kick Isildur into
I
the
can do
fucking
this.
fires of Mount Doom? Why didn't I just do this? Why? Nobody's told me. The Valar didn't tell me not to interfere in shit too much. I could have just killed that fucking idiot and saved us all the hassle. And then we could have just sat around waiting for Melkor to break out behind the doors of death and fucking the end of the world to come along, all right?
And I know people say like, oh, it's because maybe that would cause a war between the elves and men. So what? It's still better than fucking Sauron coming back.
Yeah, it's not like the elves and the men haven't been at war before.
Yeah.
Just
he used to say, Sauron actually killed him. We saw him die. Yeah, it's magic. That's, you know.
Yeah, it's Maiar, ancient magic. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Galadriel going, yeah. Ooh.
Good one.
No. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's
yeah, but that's even that whole shit with Saruman and Galadriel and stuff is just there's moments in that thing where Gandalf is actually using some of his powers, which is not something. Yeah, it's like it's not a thing that we really see in the Lord of the Rings. He doesn't use magic very much. Like a little bit of light. He shines a flashlight at the Nazgul on the fields of Pelennor that one time. Other than that,
2,000 LED, 2,000 times the strength of a candle. All right, man.
Yes. Yeah. Like there's the deleted scene when he gets his ass handed to him by the Witch King and breaks his staff and stuff. But like he doesn't really show off his powers very much, except here, where he does kind of.
And they could look cool. They look cool.
That's good effects to an extent. It looks kind of that little kind of exchange between him and the Necromancer. It looks cool.
Yeah,
but it's so fucking pointless.
Yeah,
I don't like it's.
Here's an interesting one. So, like I mentioned, edits. There are some edits out there which make a main Hobbit movie and then another side movie, which is so they cut down everything into the Hobbit to make it a decent enough movie, and then they take all the cut bits like Gandalf going off and make it its own storyline, and it kind of works better than throwing everything into the same bucket and stirring, you know.
Anything would have worked better than this.
Yeah,
anything you'd attempt. Christ Almighty!
Legolas I remember the most outrageous thing we had about Legolas back in the day was before he climbed up an elephant and brought the whole thing down. Uh, Before that was him riding on a shield down the stairs. That was the first. Oh, this is silly, but he's an elf, so that's cool. Legolas.
No, he defies physics.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
this moment where he climbs up bricks in mid fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's actually physics wise, if those bricks were maybe a bit bigger, like his weight and a bit more, there could be some allowances. But these are like bricks. These are like normal foot-sized bricks, aren't they? A little bit bigger, maybe. And
They're just little pieces of a wall.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tower. It's a tower that Legolas knocks over by like sticking his sword into the spinal column of an orc.
But then again, like, okay, right. But to give it an excuse, I'm sorry, but I have to give it an excuse. When in the Lord Rings, they're off in the mountains and they're taking this icy path. Everyone is stuck in the snow, about 5 foot into it, and Legolas is walking right on top of the snow. No bother to him whatsoever. And I mean, isn't that technically the same sort of elves don't do physics?
No, he's light on his feet. He's an elf. Leave him alone.
Yeah, so he can probably climb up.
Look, he probably can. All right, it just
it just looked dumb.
It just looks stupid when he does it, it's just that's I think that's maybe the worst thing about it. It's not that he can't do it. That's not the worst part about it, because he is an elf and he's Legolas and he has history, or he has a future, I suppose, at this point of doing things like that. But he just looks stupid when he does it.
The thing is, do you think it's because they focus on for like 10 seconds? They could have just done it as a quick second thing where you just see him quickly jump off a brick and leave
They did it in, it was like a slow-mo thing of him like going like one by one up these things.
But it was like, if it was 1 or 2 bricks, you'd be like, oh yeah, fair enough, and moved on. Yeah, but the thing is that they focus so much on the ridiculousness of it. Hey, there's a dwarf in this at the beginning of the first movie who is a woman and has a beard. Just before people like lose their minds about the new Prime show, dwarves can have a little bit of a beard. That's all I was saying. You know, when when they go around Dane and they go shot, there's a shot of a dwarf woman and she has a little bit of beard going on.
I will take your word for it.
Yeah, do. You don't have to watch it again.
I will not. I won't do that to myself. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
So other things have been added. Was when Thorin loses himself in the big golden puddle and Arkenstone stuff, was that part of the See, I have a lot of them mixed up now because I've seen the extended cuts. Was that in the normal cut?
Be more specific, please.
There's a giant swimming pool of gold, and he stands up and he just has to spin around while he's wearing like the crown, and he's kind of losing himself. And that's when he suddenly breaks and realizes, oh no, shit, my friends need me.
I don't remember there being like a pool of like liquid gold.
It starts off solid, and then it turns liquid. And
no,
then
he has the gold madness or whatever the fuck they call it in the movie, and he is a lunatic and he has these weird visions staring at his gold or whatever. But I don't know. The only pool of gold I remember is when they melted all that gold instantly to try and cover it on the big statue of the king. Yeah, they melted it and poured it on Smaug.
And it just spurts out at spots randomly.
They covered Smaug in it, and Smaug was just like, you know what, fuck you. I'm going to go over there and kill everyone now, and just like shakes the gold off.
Nothing to do with us, but bye.
The dwarves just like, oh, he left. Cool, yeah, that's all we wanted. Good job, everyone.
Were they like planning on like fighting him off when he came back? Because I know they were kind of caught, they didn't expect a dragon to take over their mountain, right? But there was 13 of them. Did they think they were going to fight off the dragon when it came back?
I think they were going to try.
Okay.
I guess. They were setting up for it, like they were dragging like defenses out to the front, because I remember Philly slash
Oh,
Killy.
the meme.
Philly slash Killy, who, by the way, in that scene is lifting with one hand an entire cart full of giant rocks. He's just like carrying it behind him, like with one arm.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
And then he'd like, Thorin is like, leave them. We have the mountain back. That's what we came for. Fuck those men over there. And he like drops it down. He's like, we can't leave them. That goes against me and my warrior spirit. I'm a dwarf. We promised them. And Thorin's like, shut up, you dumb elf-loving bitch. Or something along those lines. That's how it happened in my head.
Talking about dumb elf-loving bitch, Toriel, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, mostly she's a nothing character for me in these movies.
Mostly, I have a massive crush on her.
Oh, I mean, the actress.
Yes, but specifically the actress in costume as Taria.
No, she's a very attractive woman. But, okay, this is going to sound stupid. So one of the things they have in comparison to the Lord of the Rings in this is that Killy gets stabbed by something that's like a Mogul blade.
Morgul blade, yeah.
Yeah, right. Same as Frodo did. Now, Elrond, pretty top end elf there, right? I think it's fair to say.
I'd say he's fairly high up in the ranks.
Yeah, fairly high up. Yeah.
If we were to do an elf tier list or something, he'd probably be up there in S tier.
Yeah. And his daughter, like Arwen, by virtue of being his daughter,
who, just as a small aside, I can't believe wasn't in this, but go on.
Yeah, very surprised. Maybe it'd been weird if she just like hanging out with a 10-year-old going, hello.
But they were in Rivendell, like, anyway, go on.
Anyway, but he like, okay, so she's most likely quite powerful elf in her own right. She can call waves on, and she's a daughter of Elrond. She knows her skills.
Mm-hmm.
When Frodo gets stabbed, they get some King's Foil, right? But the King's Foil is not there to cure Frodo. It's there to keep the infection at bay. And Arwen does a little prayers and like, protect him and hold him, and like she like rides him off. But like she uses the King's Foil to basically stabilize him for a time. But that's all she can do with her magic and the King's Foil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Toriel fucking cures Killy.
Yeah. With
King's Foil.
Uh-huh.
And Toriel, don't get me wrong, I like Toriel, and I like even Evangeline, that's the one. I like her, but she's not a high class elf. She's basically from the hillbilly elves in the first place.
It's specifically addressed in that movie.
But even then, Legolas,
she's a mudblood basically.
But even then, right, Legolas and Thranduil, like their entire kingdom is kind of like the hillbilly elves. They're like hanging out in the woods and pew pew, yeah. We get drunk on wine.
I would argue that maybe it's because they are wood elves, they're better with plants and healing magic.
I mean,
yeah,
I guess so. She's more of a ranger-y character.
It's the only explanation, to be honest.
Yeah, but I still don't think that a common elf. Maybe
also,
I think it comes down to the power of love, doesn't it?
Probably, but also Philly / Killy is a dwarf. They're probably they're made of sterner stuff than Frodo.
But I don't think the King's Foil was ever meant to be a cure. It was literally just this'll hold it off for the moment.
King's Foil? Hey, it's a weed.
Yeah, that's it.
It's one of many dumb things surrounding Tauriel in this movie. To be quite honest, everything.
Why does it hurt so much?
Because it was real. I'm Lee Pace. Look, I'm a big dumb idiot who rides a fucking reindeer into battle, and I hate everything. I hate Thranduil so much.
Remember when he picks up like 5 orcs by the antlers and he slices all off the heads with a samurai sword?
Yes, I do. God, I hate Thranduil. God. Yeah.
I mean, again, at least he's But the thing is, I enjoyed him. I hate him, like, and I don't think he's necessarily the best character, but I genuinely every time he comes out, like, oh, this fucking prick, this dickhead.
I think his performance wise, he's trying to play it like Elrond and Galadriel. He's trying to give it that sort of like
Grandness,
grandiose, but almost like
but
not from this world type vibe that they have going on. That's
ethereal,
like that sort of thing. I don't think.
But it doesn't really help when he's like, "We just want our jewelry back. Give us our jewelry
but that's
back."
like I don't think he really gets there. To be honest, it still is just like
I don't know.
He's just crazy.
I think he gets there, but he's definitely like, like when Galadriel goes crazy, like I shall be a queen. Like he's just stuck in that mode. He's Galadriel, but he's stuck in that mode. He just did it one day, saying, "Huh, Galadriel can do that. Well, I'll give it a go." And he's been there. He's like, "I can't get down, Legolas."
His wife died, and he just lost his shit. I think. Basically. Yeah. That's probably what happened.
Yeah. Oh, imagine. That's the thing, because like post Lord of the Rings, like Gimli and Legolas are meant to go all over the place, like, seeing Middle Earth and seeing what Legolas likes and what Gimli likes. Do you think they just end up back in like Mirkwood? And it's just like, yeah, you put my father in jail. This is your boyfriend, Legolas.
Well, yes. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
If these movies are anything to go on, then that's exactly what happened.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's also in the canon of the books.
It's exactly what
like. No, I don't think we meet Thranduil in the books. I don't remember. Which is, again, another thing that they really padded out in this. We don't really get to know Thranduil all that much, but he sure does show up in the movies a lot.
Yep, sure does.
Yeah, right. So we've been kind of just jumping in here and there. But I think we could probably leave it at that. I think it's fair to say that we aren't the biggest fans of the live action Hobbit books. And I know there are fans out there and people I know well who do enjoy these and find merit. And I think there's a way to perceiving it is, first of all, cutting it down to a manageable weight, and then not seeing it as a Lord of the Rings. Like, if this was independent of the Lord of the Rings, I probably would enjoy it a bit more. If Lord of the Rings didn't happen, I would probably enjoy it, because none of the things that are Lord of the Rings that do show up in this, I would have known before. So, that's a cool idea. That's neat.
Yeah, I still don't think they're very good, but its biggest problem is that it's trying to be the Lord of the Rings and not be the Lord of the Rings all at once somehow. There's like, I copped it big time in rewatching when you sit down and watch these three films like one after the other,
which you should never do.
Which don't ever do. But it becomes really obvious that even the story, the plot points, like from a script point of view, the rise and fall and the ebb and flow of the plot, there's specific moments in this trilogy that are like basically the same as moments in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but just a little bit different. They're like they do everything that happens in the Lord of the Rings in this, but just a little bit less. Like, there's so the first one, an unexpected journey, right? It's the Fellowship. It's the same fucking thing. And I don't mean that as in it, but it follows the exact same track to the point of where it also features a scene like the end. They start off in the Shire, and
which is
Gandalf. That's fine. Whatever. Gandalf meets Bilbo, and they leave the Shire, and everybody gets separated, and then the end of the movie. Oh, they walk across. There's a specific scene in an unexpected journey where Azog, in lieu of Saruman in the Fellowship, says, "So you're taking them across the mountain path," That's death for you. And then there's a scene where they're all on the side of a fucking cliff that turns into a giant rock monster for no apparent reason or whatever. And they're like struggling, there's a storm, and they're all like, we'll have to go underground or whatever. And they end up in an underground area. Moria in the Fellowship, the fucking goblin tunnels in this shit or whatever. They fight some fucking big thing. They come out the other side. Like,
Hold on, though.
there's a scene in the Desolation of Smaug when they're fighting Smaug in the halls of Erebor. There's a bunch of like direct visual references to the Fellowship running through Moria. They get to a point where there's like the Bridge of Khazad-dûm in Moria, but it's this other little thin bridge that they've run across, and it's Smaug, not the Balrog, and there's a bunch of stuff like that, and it's like.
Now, look, to be fair, like some of that is just purely down to Tolkien's similarities between the two stories, at least trying to connect them a little bit originally. But you're right in that visually they take a hell of a lot of cues from the Lord of the Rings in this. Like story-wise, I can't really blame them too much because that is the Hobbit, you know. That is what happens in these books. But I think the big thing is they try to make it visually look the same.
And somehow not the same is the problem.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know if they wanted. It's like they couldn't decide. They went for both. Like, do we want this to be exactly like the Lord of the Rings, like aesthetically and thematically and everything, or do we want it to be its own sort of more childlike, whimsical thing? And they were like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's do both."
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Also, I mean, do you know any children who have watched this movie and said, "This is my favorite set of movies"?
No,
like it's not a kids' movie either.
No,
like.
But this is my final point to raise out everything is I want to leave us all with a note of worry, because we have witnessed over the course of the last 5 to 10 years people our age and younger reevaluate a certain prequel trilogy that came out when we were kids.
Yes.
The Star Wars prequels,
including us, by the way.
We're part of it. The Star Wars prequels were considered by us and by everybody the same way that we've just spoken about the Hobbitses. Everyone hated them. They were terrible. Nobody liked them. Nobody could find any redeeming anything. It was just they were bad. The only good thing anyone could ever say about them was maybe, Obi-Wan is cool, or Darth Maul looks cool, but there was little things, but everybody hated them, right? Most people hated them. And now, we all love them. We all look back with a fondness and we go, the prequels are good. I always loved The Phantom Menace. What are you talking about? Shut up, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
I can see it in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
People younger than us who maybe did watch the Hobbitses when they were like 8 or 9 years old, like we did with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Will like the conversation will change and everyone will start going, it'll start with like, the Hobbits got a bad rep. They actually weren't that bad. They're actually quite a good things going on in there and visually and blah blah. And suddenly it'll be this fucking whole other thing, and they'll be re-evaluated.
I have a glimmer of hope here, though. Okay, first of all, there is a medium for the Hobbit that existed before the Hobbit, which is the books for the Hobbit. Right? That is important. Like it's already established text. It is interpretation of established text. Star Wars was out and unique. One thing I can say to Star Wars, and anyone you could argue it, but I think you'll be mad to say it, there was no filler in the original trilogy of Star Wars. It was the opposite. Lucas just had so many fucking things he wanted to put in these movies, so much world building and so much actually unnecessary stuff, but still content that he wanted to put in these movies. Whereas with The Hobbit, it is mostly filler from other texts that have been put in to stretch out these movies into 3. The original trilogy could have honestly probably gone on for another movie or 2, and probably should have, because we would have actually seen the rise of Darth Vader in a better way than we did, you know? Because Darth Vader really just, like, you get the vibe that Vader and Obi-Wan fought for, like, a movie or 2 as well. I mean, I guess we do now retroactively have a series where that happens, but
yeah, I can see
I can see
I
it.
can
But
see the
I
mass
don't think that. Yeah,
conversation surrounding the
yeah.
hobbits
I
evolving.
would say I think the comparisons between the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbits, uh, sorry, Star Wars and the Hobbit in this, I I think I can see the connections you're making, but I think it's more superficial connections than something that actually creates communities and makes people talk. You know.
Yeah, but look, but that's like we don't know really.
Also, you forget like think about the amount of media that came out after Star Wars, games wise, books wise, comics wise. What have we got from the Hobbit since the Hobbit came out?
Couple of bad games.
Yeah, and really nothing more. Like maybe a handful of games and fuck off. Where Star Wars had so much prequel content thrown out there. There was a lot of redeeming and fixing.
Yeah, true, but there's like
Look, man, please. Just
no, I'm
give
just
it.
saying I don't know if it will.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put all my chips on saying
You wouldn't be shocked if it happened.
no, I'm not gonna sit here and say I guarantee you in 5 years' time people are gonna be saying the hobbits are fucking brilliant or whatever. But it could happen. Amazon are gonna put a lot of fucking money into doing exactly what we've just said it didn't get for the Lord of the Rings, which is extended media and TV shows and additional fucking content and like their stories from different ages and like building the whole fucking mythology of Middle Earth on screen and in
if
books
it sells,
and games, and
it might fall flat on his arse. I remember this. This is actually it's a nice rounding off this entire conversation. I remember we were in Kilkenny. You at the ATM. This was just before we were going to watch the first Hobbit movie, and we were both excited because we both enjoyed the music. That came out because they had like a few tracks. Just to remind you, we enjoyed it, and you were getting money out, and I said, "Man, this does well. We might get like Silmarillion. You know, we might get all the extended media like in movie form. That would be amazing." And I remember you saying, "I said like, yeah, I just hope that this is going to be good because I have a bad feeling."
we were right.
Yeah,
We did spend some time, quite some time after the first Hobbit came out, trying to convince ourselves that we liked it. I think.
Yeah.
We were.
Like,
I remember walking out of the cinema, and our whole thing was like, "Look, it's a kids' movie, right? The Hobbit is for kids. It's not going to be the same. It's we just have to accept that it's different." And, we don't have to accept that it's bad.
And it's not for kids. Like the movies are not for kids.
No, it's bad.
No.
Anyway,
folks, this is the end of the podcast. Next thing we're going to do, we'll probably do a little Twitter poll because we're going to do the live action Lord of the Rings movies at the very end of this month to leave on a higher note, I think.
Yeah, something positive.
Yeah. We are going to put some of the animated movies on to the Twitter poll, and you can decide what we're going to watch next. We'll talk to you then, folks. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Asherlo. It's a big rent.